Okay. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Please don't come in here, I'm giving class.
Yeah, I was attending the class.
Huh?
I'm the student of the class. They said we can come to 607.
Oh, I don't know. It's on Zoom. You're not listening on Zoom? What do you want to do? You want to sit here? Oh, Krishna. Let me see, where is it? Okay, so can you see the screen?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes, Maharaj, yes.
Yeah, I put the verse on the board, on the screen. We want to go through the text tonight, so we can chant the verse, first verse. This is, of course, one of the memorization verses for the Nectar of Instruction course. All right? You can chant. Someone like to chant for me? Yeah?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
You go ahead.
Can I check? Okay.
Yeah, please.
Vachokam manasakrodhavegam jivavegam udara upasthavegam etan vegan yo vishayeta dhira sarvam api mam prithvim sashishyat.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so it's not a very difficult verse. You can see the verses explaining about controlling the urges. So I'll read the translation. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals, is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So I was just reading the commentary of Bhaktivinoda Thakur on this verse, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur points out, he said, this first verse is meant for householders, and it's meant to, as a guideline before they renounce householder life. They should first of all have this kind of qualification. Of course, none of you are thinking of renouncing householder life, but you might like to know that this was what Bhaktivinoda Thakur said. This is a qualification for renouncing householder life. You have to tolerate the urge. The three urges are mentioned: the urge to speak, the mind's demands, and the actions of anger. And then the three other urges: the tongue, the belly, and the genitals. All right, so Prabhupada's purport is very interesting, and he begins describing about Maharaj Parikshit putting questions to Sukadev Goswami in the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So one of the questions was, why do people undergo atonement if they cannot control their senses? And then Srila Prabhupada explains here what is the point that Parikshit Maharaj is making. He said the thief may be arrested, he may be punished, but he continues to steal. So Prabhupada makes the point, one who is less intelligent requires experience by seeing, and one who is more intelligent, he gathers experience by hearing. The intelligent person simply hears it's wrong to steal, he won't steal. But the less intelligent person, he actually steals and he gets the punishment. So he sees what happens when he steals, and he learns the hard way, you could say. So Maharaj Parikshit is saying, what is the point of doing atonement if we can't control the senses? Prabhupada talks more about the sinful person. He steals or does some crime, he's put in jail, and sometimes he will get out of jail and then he'll continue to do the same crime and go back to jail again. So what was the good of the punishment? That kind of atonement didn't seem to do any good. And then Prabhupada continues, he compares that kind of atonement, or he's quoting from Srimad Bhagavatam, that kind of atonement is like the bathing of an elephant. The elephant takes a nice bath, and as soon as he comes out, he throws the dirt all over his body. So what is the value of his bathing? And this is a fact. I saw the elephants do this. When we had elephants in Mayapur, they would regularly do this. It is their custom. So similarly, Prabhupada continues, people practicing spiritual life, they may chant the Hare Krishna mantra and they may commit many forbidden things. And they think that their chanting will counteract their offenses. So of course this is very wrong, and this is the ninth offense, the seventh offense in chanting the holy name. And Prabhupada quotes the Sanskrit, Namno Baladyasyahi Papa Buddhi, to commit sin on the strength of chanting. We think that we can make up for our sinful activities by chanting Hare Krishna, and we go on committing sinful activities, and we chant Hare Krishna to counteract it. So that's very wrong. And Prabhupada compares how in the Christian tradition, generally it's the Catholic Church, the Catholics, they will have confession, and they come before the priest, and then the priest will tell them to chant so many Hail Marys or something. They have a rosary and they should chant on the rosary. He'll give them a prescribed atonement that every day or for the next week or for the next 5 days you have to chant on your rosary 5 rounds or something. But the result is next week they come back again. And it's the same thing, it goes on every week. Every week, the same thing. That, oh, I did some sin, I did this wrong, I did that wrong. And they continue, the priest gives some atonement, and it just continues. There's no change. So Maharaj Parikshit, Prabhupada's explaining, he's the most intelligent person, and Sukadeva Goswami is also intelligent. And they want to understand what is real atonement. And I've noted here in the purport, a sinful activity cannot be counteracted by a pious activity. Thus, real prayaschit, or atonement, is the awakening of our dormant Krishna consciousness. So, sinful activities. So person has committed some sinful activity and he tries to counteract it by doing something pious. So that is not the real atonement. But what is important is that a person should be properly instructed, he should be brought to the proper consciousness. As Prabhupada said, we should awaken our Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada said, real atonement involves coming to real knowledge. And then he goes on and explains there's a standard process. And what the process is mentioned, he describes what would be the process and practice of mystic yoga. And he mentions what they would do, practice some austerities, celibacy, controlling the senses and mind, giving up one's possessions in charity, by being avowedly truthful, and by keeping clean, by practicing yoga asanas. So these are all different ways in which one could come to the higher platform of knowledge. That's part of the atonement process, to bring one to real knowledge. But Prabhupada says, there's another process. If one is fortunate enough, he can get the association of a pure devotee. And then he can easily surpass all the practices for controlling the mind. All the different things which we just mentioned, the brahmacharya and the yoga asanas and giving in charity. Doesn't have to do these things if he takes the association of a pure devotee. And in the association of the devotee follows the regulative principles of Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada mentions the 4 regulations. So one has to follow these 4 principles, and this way he's avoiding sinful activity. And then he adds also, they have to also engage in the service of the Lord under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master. This easy process is being recommended by Srila Rupa Goswami. Right? So Rupa Goswami, he is giving us in this first verse, he's giving us like the staircase up to the temple of bhakti. These instructions which are given in this first verse, they do not constitute bhakti, but it's bringing us so that we're ready for bhakti. Because without having this kind of qualification, then we can never actually satisfy Lord Krishna. We can never actually engage in real bhakti, so long as we're influenced by anger and the uncontrolled mind and senses and the lust and the anger and the greed. So long as these things are there in us, we cannot expect to actually come to the real platform of bhakti. So this is a preliminary qualification to bring us into bhakti. All right? Is this clear? Are there any questions so far from anyone? If there, did you close the door? Yeah? They're so loud.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Yes?
The preliminary qualification is having all these qualities, right?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
You told that these are the preliminary qualifications for getting into bhakti.
I told what?
That all these qualities are the preliminary qualification for getting into bhakti.
They bring us up to the, yes, that we're ready to begin bhakti.
But then, like as you said, when we are engaged in service or when we are getting in association of a pure devotee, that does not need any qualification, right?
Well, Prabhupada did mention qualification, right? He mentioned that refraining from the 4 sinful activities and also engaging in the service of the Lord under the direction of the spiritual master. That is required to get into bhakti.
Thank you.
So long as we're, there's a verse actually in the Padma Purana which is quoted in the commentaries of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and also Bhaktisiddhanta, that so long as lust, anger, and greed is there, that we cannot take up bhakti. Lord Mukunda, Lord Krishna will never manifest in that person who is a slave to the passions of lust and anger and greed and illusion and madness and envy. These are the enemies, and we have to get rid of these things in order to actually take up real pure bhakti. Of course, we can pretend to be doing bhakti. We're trying to do bhakti. We're coming to the platform to do bhakti. But our bhakti is often influenced by the modes of nature. So it's, pure bhakti, Rupa Goswami described pure bhakti, that it must be without desire for fruitive activity, and it should be without desire for philosophical speculation or liberation, becoming one with the Lord. And pure bhakti should be unmotivated and uninterrupted. Like that, they're characteristics of pure bhakti. Right? So we're learning about the preliminary qualification for taking up bhakti. Is that all right?
Yes,
Anyone? Yeah? Okay, we'll go ahead. So then Rupa Goswami began, he said, Vacho Vegam. The very first thing, said, we have to control the speaking power. Vacho Vegam, right? Every one of us has the power of speech. And we like to speak. We get an opportunity, we begin to speak. And if we don't speak about Krishna, we speak about Maya. And Prabhupada talks about the frog or the toad in the field is croaking. And the same way everyone has a tongue, and we're like the croaking frog. We're simply inviting death. Just like the toad in the field is croaking, and the snake is listening, and he knows, oh, there's my meal. And he simply goes and he gets the frog, he eats the frog. Because their croaking brought the snake. And similarly, in the material world, materialistic people, we're also talking so many things, and our talking is like, sometimes like the croaking of the frogs. Particularly the Mayavadi philosophers, they can be compared to the croaking of frogs, because they're always speaking nonsense. They're speaking nonsense philosophy. So, controlling speech, Prabhupada mentions, controlling speech does not mean monavrat. It does not mean taking a vow of silence. Some people do that. Mayavadis often do that. They take a vow of silence. And Prabhupada said it may appear, or it's helpful for some time, but within the mind there's so many thoughts. I remember we went to, I was distributing literature. I was traveling in India, and there was this one cave, and we went to see what was in the cave, and there was one sadhu there. And so we went we tried to speak to him, but he put his hands in front of his mouth and he shook his hand, indicating that he was doing Monavrat. He didn't want to speak. Anyway, we brought a Bhagavad Gita there, we showed him the Bhagavad Gita, and although he didn't speak, he could hear, so we told him about the Bhagavad Gita, and we told him about Prabhupada and about our society. And then we asked him to buy the Bhagavad Gita. So he had a board with chalk and he wrote on the board, how much is it? And he bought the Bhagavad Gita. So, although people take Monavrat, they can still be active in the world. And still, their mind is still active. So just taking a vow of silence is not the real means of controlling the speech. And Prabhupada explains how Rupa Goswami advocates the positive process. And the positive process, Krishna Katha, engaging the speaking process in glorifying Lord Krishna. A nice example of someone who controlled his speech, there was this one Vamsi Das Babaji. He was a very renounced person. He was a Babaji. And if somebody ever came to him and said something mundane, if they said to him, what do you think of the government? He would say, Govardhan. He would not get into the government or politics. He would bring it to a Krishna conscious topic. So that is controlling the speech in a positive manner, bringing everything to connect to Lord Krishna and everything in relation to Krishna. So Prabhupada continues, the tongue can glorify the name, form, qualities and pastimes of the Lord. The preacher of Krishna Katha is always beyond the clutches of death. This is the significance of controlling the urge to speak. All right? So this is the first thing, the urge to speak. And then the next item, Vachovigam Manasa, the mind, the restlessness or fickleness of the mind. And we're encouraged that we should fix our mind on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. And Prabhupada quotes the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Krishna is like the sun, Maya is like darkness. So wherever there is topics of Krishna, there can be no Maya. Just as wherever there is sunlight, there is no darkness. Now here in Dubai it's dark, there's no sun. And whenever there's no talk of Krishna, then the Maya will come. So we want to keep always the mind fixed on Krishna. And Prabhupada said, if Krishna is present in the mind, there's no possibility of the minds being agitated by Maya's influence. The yogic process of negating all material thoughts will not help. To try to create a vacuum in the mind is artificial. The vacuum will not remain. All right, how long can you make the mind empty? Very short time. Certainly, very quickly, thoughts will come in the mind. However, if we're always thinking of Krishna and thinking how to serve Krishna, then that is control of the mind. So controlling the mind, difficult, right? But practice. Arjuna said his mind was more restless than the wind. But Lord Krishna said, well, I know it's difficult, but it's possible. Right? Lord Krishna advised two things. Abhyasena tu konteya vairagyena chagriyate. By abhyas, by practice, and by vairag, by detachment. So those two things are required. We have to practice. Of course, if we always hold on to material things, then that will be a problem. We have to let go. Therefore, vairag is required, detachment. We have to let go of the material and bring everything to Krishna, thinking of Krishna. So if we practice this, and of course we should be practicing every day when we chant japa. When we chant japa, and when we go to Srimad Bhagavatam class, when you go to Arti, these different things in front of the deities, and then at those times we should be thinking of Krishna, chanting the holy name, seeing the deities, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. It's very powerful means to bring the mind to think of Krishna. All right, so this way the mind can be controlled by Krishna conscious activities. And now we come to anger. The urge to speak, the mind's demands, and the reaction and the actions of anger. So, anger. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna, what does Lord Krishna say about anger? Someone? Tell me something about anger. What does Lord Krishna have to say about anger in the Bhagavad Gita?
Krodad bhavati sammoha.
Okay.
And sammoha.
Can you give me the English, please?
Destructive force can lead to self-destruction and spiritual degradation.
From anger comes delusion.
Sorry, what was that?
From anger comes delusion.
From anger comes?
Maharaj, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, no, anger is basically out of your desires. Because when your desires are not fulfilled, you get frustrated and you get angry.
Yes. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person becomes attached to them. From such attachment, lust arises. And from lust comes anger. Because the lust is not satisfied, we didn't get what we wanted, so we become angry. And then later on in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna also describes that there are three gates to hell: lust, anger, and greed. And every sane man must give these things up. So Srila Prabhupada writes, we cannot stop anger altogether, but if we simply become angry with those who blaspheme the Lord or the devotees of the Lord, then we control our anger in Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada gives the example how Lord Chaitanya became angry with Jagai and Madhai. Although Lord Chaitanya had said we should be humbler than the grass and tolerant than the tree, but when Lord Nityananda was attacked and injured, then Lord Chaitanya became very angry. Then he was ready to kill them. he was acting, he said, acts like fire against the offenders. So anger that is proper use of anger. And then Prabhupada then also mentions Hanuman set fire to Lanka. But Hanuman is a great devotee. So he did this as a service. And Arjuna also is another example. Inspired by Lord Krishna, he fought. So anger is controlled when utilized in the service of the Lord. However, we have to be cautious about this. Using anger in the service of Krishna has to be done by the person who has control over his mind and senses. If you try to use anger and if you are controlled by the anger, then it's not good. You have to be able to control the anger, not that the anger controls you. Sometimes we get very angry and we lose control. So that's not good. Yeah. So anger can be used, but it should be used by one who is the master of the senses and mind. We shouldn't be controlled by the anger. That could be bad for us. All right? So we've spoken about the first three, the last, the urge to speak, the mind's demands, and the reactions of anger. Now, if you're bringing up children, sometimes you can get angry with them sometimes, but you have to be controlled. You can't be uncontrolled and start hitting them. We have to be careful about how you use anger. All right? Oh, any questions about these three things? First of all, speaking, the urge to speak, the mind's demands, and the reactions of anger. Everyone's competent to control these things? The three urges? We hope you don't have the urge to get angry too often.
A lot, Maharaj.
Yes?
Anger is the toughest to control.
Yes, I'm sorry, your voice is not clear.
Is it clear now?
Yes.
Yeah, anger looks the toughest one to control, Maharaj.
Anger is difficult to control. Yes, I agree with you. It is difficult. And if we're having difficulty to control it, we should avoid trying to use it. Right? Otherwise, we're controlled by the anger. Better to avoid it.
Maharaj, I have a question. Can I ask?
Okay.
Maharaj, in a situation where you are, doing everything which is required to be done spiritually, I mean, you try to give as much as time that you can devote towards your spiritual services. At the same time, on the material services also, you try to work with full you do a lot of hard work, you do it with full diligently and all. And sometimes what happened, the people who are neither spiritual nor doing a hard work or anything, I mean, it's not a comparison, but sometimes you see that they try to grow and all this, but not you. So that's a situation when you get frustrated, you really get angry for each and every action that you perform, and it sometimes also impacts and it shutters your faith towards the Lord. So how do we take it?
Yes. Well, you have to be very cautious about this. This is not a very positive kind of approach to dealing with people and relations. You know, we shouldn't be bitter about them. Rather, we should try to think more positively. Think, you know, that we should think how fortunate we are that we have the opportunity to do service. Don't be so worried about what others are doing and what they're not doing. Don't be thinking like that. Don't be thinking in a negative way about others, but be more critical of ourselves and think about our own self. And, you know, we should also think of how we're lucky that we have the opportunity to do something. But don't be negative. Don't be looking at other people and say, oh, they're not doing this, they're not doing that. You know, we have to be cautious about that. That's not a very healthy approach. If we start looking at others and criticizing them. Rather, we want to look at ourselves and be critical of our own self. We don't want to get in that mentality of looking down on others and being critical of them. That's not a very positive approach to relationships with devotees. It's just going to bring a problem about, you know, they'll say, who are you? Are you my controller? Are you my boss? You know, that you have the right, you know, like that. We have to be very cautious about looking at others and finding wrong with them. And just be happy that we're in devotional service. We've come to Krishna consciousness. And other people, oh, they're not doing very much, okay, but at least somehow they have some attachment to Krishna. They're favorable to Krishna consciousness, and one day maybe they will take up more active part. They'll become more involved and be more eager to do service. So we have to think like that. Try to avoid the tendency to be critical and to find fault with others. Because you get in a trap then, and you can get involved in arguments and in anger, and so many issues can come up. So better just to look at our own self and be critical of our own self. That's much safer. All right, you understand?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much. I mean, we do know that it's a very negative approach. We shouldn't be doing it. We shouldn't be comparing because everybody is equal in the eyes of the Lord. But you know, you reach to a point at times when there is, you know, a lot of frustration that comes out because you keep working diligently, you keep seeing it for years and years, but nothing turns out. So this is where, you know, that point, that angle comes in.
Yeah, but you know what, if we're working and we should be getting more and more bliss, more and more ecstasy from working for Krishna. We should be happy that we're so fortunate. We're getting this opportunity to work for Krishna. So why should we become angry? Why should we feel bad? No, we should be happy. I think we have to try to develop the positive approach. Look on the bright side. Don't look on the black side, the back side. Don't look on the black side. See the good. So that's controlling the mind. Sometimes our mind can be very critical. So we have to control the mind. We have to train the mind not to be critical, but rather to be to be positive and to be appreciative. And the best way to convince people is not by words, but by our own example. By our own example, that if we're working happily and other people see us serving nicely and happily, they will also be inclined to want to also do some, to take up the service. And if they're not inclined, okay, don't worry about it. There's other people, there's opportunities for other people. Find some other people, you know, who do want service. There's always people who would like to be engaged, you know. We were doing a book fair, some time ago it was now, in Singapore. And we were doing a book fair, and right next to us there was this Christian group. And they put up a big sign, "We need volunteers." And they got so many people all coming, "I want to volunteer, I want to help, what can I do, give me something." And they got, and I thought, my goodness, this is we should be doing that also. We need volunteers. You know, put a sign up, you know, just say, we need volunteers, please come and help, take up some service. So sometimes like that, it can have a good effect, you know, putting up a notice, "We need volunteers, please come." Well, it's much better than to, "Why don't you do something? You're sitting there doing nothing, you're lazy," you know. That kind of critical mood doesn't help anybody. It just makes people angry, and you make enemies, and oh my goodness. Better to avoid it. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, we're going to go on to the next, talking about the urges of the tongue and the belly and the genitals. So, Prabhupada, there's a lot of practical instructions in this first purport here. Prabhupada talks a lot about taking prasadam. And so, of course, we all like to eat nice prasadam. It's very important. And Prabhupada was also concerned that the prasadam should be nice. It should be well cooked. It should be properly cooked. So, we eat only Krishna prasadam. That is the best way to control the tongue. And ideally, prasadam should be taken at scheduled times. And Prabhupada mentions we should not eat in restaurants or sweetmeat shops simply to satisfy the whims of the tongue or belly. Now, there may be exemptions to that. You know, I know here, like especially here in Dubai, you know, people are often working. It's difficult sometimes. It's a lot of work to cook also. So there's a temptation to people want to go and eat in restaurants or sweetmeat shops. But we should try to avoid it if possible. It's really not very good for us. The problems are, first of all, restaurants are not very sattvic. The people working in the restaurants are not sattvic, often not devotees. Of course, you may go to even our Govinda's restaurant, the people working in the Govindas are not devotees. And sweetmeat shops also, these people. You don't know what kind of habits they have or what kind of principles they follow. So it's certainly karmic food. You're getting a bit of karma when you start eating in restaurants and sweetmeat shops. It's not really good for us. We should definitely want to try to avoid it. And Prabhupada has mentioned it here. So controlling the tongue means to take prasad. And prasadam means what is cooked by devotees. No, of course, there may be special cases, like, I know, sometimes you have to meet people, business clients, or sometimes you have to go somewhere with people from your work, or even sometimes family members who are not devotees, and you have to go with them. It's a problem, but try to avoid it as much as you can. And then, of course, maybe some marriage function or something like that. And then maybe the people married, they're not devotees, and they have food which is not prasada. So we try to avoid these things. And then Prabhupada talks about the urges of the genitals, in other words, the sex impulse. So there's sex can be used legitimately and illegally, right? A legitimate use of the sex is for producing God-conscious children. And we're very happy when a couple want to have a child. And certainly we bless them and we encourage them to perform the Garbhodan Samskar, chant your rounds, and try for a child. And we want, by performing the rituals in the proper way, by chanting the extra rounds and by doing Garbhodan Samskar, then you can attract a pure soul into the womb. And you get a pure soul taking birth in your family. Then it's very easy for them to grow up to be devotees. And we want those kind of children. They're the future of our Krishna conscious movement. Children born in the family of devotees, from their very childhood, they can grow up to be devotees. So they have a great opportunity to go on. Jayapataka Swami's talking, he was quoting Prabhupada, he said, we need children who will become acharyas, right? So you give birth to a child should go on and become an acharya. He should become one of the leaders in the Krishna consciousness movement. So that is proper use of the genitals. And we need many Krishna conscious children for this purpose. All right, so then Prabhupada then goes into the other commentary, what's called the Anuvriti, which is the purports given by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Prabhupada has given us some brief purports here. Maybe he took it from another acharya. Several people have commented on Upadeshamrita, and mainly Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati talks about the three kinds of urges: the demands of the body, the urge to speak, and the demands of the mind. And he said, when a living entity falls victim to these three urges, his life becomes inauspicious. One who practices resisting these demands or urges is called tapasvi, or one who practices austerity. By such tapasya, one can overcome victimization by the material energy, the external potency of Krishna. So we're encouraged to do tapasya, right? This tapasya, controlling the demands or the urges. What were the three urges again? The urge to speak, the demands of the mind, and the demands of the body. So we want to control these things. Lord Krishna and the power of bhakti is all under the internal potency, the Swarup Shakti of the Lord. But if we're a victim to these things, then we're under the external energy, the material energy. And the material energy means the three modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Then we cannot expect any good result. So first of all, the urge to speak. We refer to useless talking, such as that of the impersonal Mayavada philosophers, or of persons engaged in fruitive activities, karmakanda, or of materialistic people who simply want to enjoy life without restriction. So all such talks are exhibitions of the urge to speak. And of course, even books on these topics are also exhibitions of the urge to speak. Prabhupada said they're writing volumes of useless books. All this is the result of the urge to speak. And we want to counteract this tendency. We want to speak about Krishna. And Prabhupada quotes these very well-known verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, from the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th chapter. This is Srila Vyasadeva being instructed by Narada Muni. Narada Muni is telling him, right? Those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for the crows. Tadvayasam tirtam ushanti manasa. Right? The crows. Vayasam tirtam. Tirtha, the place of pilgrimage. Vyasa, the crow. So the place of pilgrimage for the crows. This is the nature of anything which does not glorify the Supreme Lord. Since all perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there. Right? There's no pleasure in going to the garbage. The crows are there in the garbage. Their pleasure is there, the place of pilgrimage for the crows, the garbage. Although any sane person won't get any pleasure there. However, in contrast, on the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, form, pastimes, etc., is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of the world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literature, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Srila Prabhupada quoted this verse in his preface to Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada continues, the conclusion is when we talk about devotional service to Krishna, then we can refrain from useless, nonsensical talk. We should always endeavor to use our speaking power solely for the purpose of realizing Krishna consciousness. All right, it's a challenge. There's so many people, not devotees, and they will come to you and try to deviate your mind, talk some mundane thing to you. And we have to tolerate these kind of things, and at the same time keep our mind fixed on Krishna. We have to endeavor to remember Krishna. So it's a challenge. We have to practice, but we can do it. Abhyasena tu kontiya vairagi, practice and detachment. So practice hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, practice chanting the holy name, practice serving Krishna, and detach ourselves. Don't get absorbed in the Bollywood movies and the stock market and the news and all the mundane affairs of the material world. Try to keep away from these things. So Prabhupada then continues talking about the agitations of the flickering mind. And he's quoting again from the commentary of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. They've described two divisions. The first is called Avirodha Priti, or unrestricted attachment. And the other is called Virodha Yukta Krodha, anger arising from frustration. So Prabhupada gives examples of these different things. Avirodha Priti, the first one, this unrestricted attachment. And he talks about how Mayavadis, they have their philosophy, and the Karmakandis, they're attached to their rituals, material desires. That's the main thing. Unrestricted attachment, materialistic desires. That is Avirodha Priti. And then the other type of agitation of the mind is called Virodha Yukta Krodha, anger arising from frustration. And Prabhupada tells us what happens. He says, we make plans, conditioned souls, we make plans, and when we cannot fulfill the plans, then we become angry. So frustration of material desires produces anger. Right? From lust comes greed. If you get what you want, then you become greedy for more. And when you don't get what you want, you become angry. So the anger arising from frustration. You didn't get what you wanted, become angry. So these are the two types of agitations of the mind. And then the demands of the body. Again, the three in a straight line: the tongue, the belly, and the genitals. So Prabhupada discusses about this, and actually Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati also, in his commentary on this Upadeshamrita, he also had quoted all of these things, and Prabhupada similarly has put them all here. Important that how to, first of all, the demands with the tongue, controlling the tongue. And the main activity of the tongue, of course, is eating prasadam. It's very important. We have to eat prasadam. But we should be careful. It shouldn't be sense gratification. When we eat prasadam, we should honor prasadam. We should take it in a proper manner. So Prabhupada quotes the song which Bhaktivinoda Thakur had written, which we like to chant before we take prasadam. If you take prasadam in the association of devotees, Generally, we will sing this, Sharira Vidyajal. It's very nice to, when you're together with the devotees, you take prasadam together, and first of all, we sing this song. And even if you're taking on your own, it's nice to also say this song. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote this song because he's concerned that when we take prasadam, although we have offered the food to the deity, we often have a material conception of it. When we're thinking what I like, what I don't like, we have a very material thinking. But by reciting this verse, which Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given us, this beautiful poem, then it's meant to take away that kind of consciousness. It's meant to bring us to the transcendental platform. Of course, you have to know the meaning. Often we find people sing the song, they don't even know the meaning. So if you don't know the meaning, you won't get any benefit. Srila Prabhupada told singing the songs, Vaishnava songs, is good, but you have to know the meaning, you have to know what you're singing about. So Prabhupada has given us the meaning here. O Lord, this material body is a lump of ignorance, and the senses are a network of paths leading to death. Somehow or other we have fallen into the ocean of material sense enjoyment, and of all the senses, the tongue is the most voracious and uncontrollable. It's very difficult to conquer the tongue in this world, but you, dear Krishna, are very kind to us. You have sent this nice prasad to help us conquer the tongue. Therefore, let us take this prasad to our full satisfaction and glorify your Lordship, Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, and love call for the help of Lord Chaitanya and Prabhu Nityananda. And so, like this, by saying like this, by repeating these words of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, it helps us to come out of the material consciousness, that we're not just taking something to eat, but we're honoring the remnants of the foodstuff of the Lord. So Prabhupada talks about how there are 6 different kinds of rasas or tastes, and if we're attached, if we're agitated by any of them, then we're controlled by the urge of the tongue. Right? There's different tastes like sweet, sour, bitter, salty, astringent, yeah, pungent, yeah. So like that, 6 tastes. And so if we're agitated by some people, oh, I like sweet, oh, I like salty, like that. So that's bodily conscious. That's not good. That's the urge of the tongue. And then Prabhupada continues, some persons are attracted to the eating of meat, fish, crabs, eggs, and other things produced by semen and blood and eaten in the form of dead bodies. Others are attracted by eating vegetables, creepers, spinach, or milk products, but all for the satisfaction of the tongue's demands. Such eating for sense gratification, including the use of extra quantities of spices like chili and tamarind, is to be given up by Krishna-conscious persons. So, devotees, especially South Indian devotees, usually, they like very much tamarind and chili also. Now, a little, Prabhupada also liked a little chili, but chili is good for digestion, but shouldn't be too much. It shouldn't be excessive quantities of it. People they say without all the chili, and then they say no taste, and no taste. They don't feel satisfied. They don't like to eat even if there's no taste. So this is the control of the tongue. We have to be careful or try to overcome it. So then Prabhupada talks about other things which are not good. Pan, haritaki, betel nut, and then pan making, spices, tobacco. Prabhupada mentions LSD, marijuana, opium, liquor, coffee and tea. He mentions all these things, and he mentions coffee and tea along with them. So it's all, these things are all illicit demands. Thank you, Prabhu. So I know many devotees, they're still drinking tea, even they've been in the movement for many years. They just can't give it up, and they never really tried, I think. But you know, we should really try to overcome these things. Some people tell me they cannot get up in the morning without a cup of tea, you know.
Decaffeine.
Huh?
Decaffeine.
Yeah.
Decaffeine. Coffee.
Coffee also, yeah. So we should try to conquer over these things. Prabhupada, of course, there's a famous incident. Prabhupada was in Indonesia, and there was one Indian man said to Prabhupada, he said, Swamiji, I like Krishna very much, but I also like wine. So Prabhupada told the man, he said, well, when you drink wine, you should think the taste of the wine is Krishna. He said, you should think that taste of the wine, that is Krishna. In this way, somehow try to bring it into Krishna consciousness. So, Prabhupada said, we can practice accepting only remnants of food offered to Krishna. Then you can get free from Maya. And he mentions, he said, vegetables, grains, fruit, milk products and water are all proper foods to offer to Krishna. Lord Krishna himself says. But he said also, if we take the prasad only because it has a good taste and we eat too much, then that is the demand of the tongue. And Prabhupada said, Lord Chaitanya taught us that we should avoid very palatable dishes, even while eating prasadam. I remember as a devotee, in the beginning of our Krishna consciousness movement, Prabhupada had said what we should eat. He said breakfast, he said you should have some cereal and a piece of fruit. Usually a piece of orange, half an orange or a whole, maybe depends how much you can get. Some places fruit is more available, some less. But that was, breakfast was, some chana also, chickpeas. A few chickpeas, not too many, but some chickpeas because they're very valuable, high protein, nutritious. So some chickpeas, which were usually soaked overnight, and then with a little salt and pepper, and some ginger, maybe some ginger with them, like that. Some chickpeas could be taken for breakfast along with a piece of fruit, and if possible, a little cereal. In the winter time, colder weather, you would want to have some cereal, something hot. That would be breakfast. And then lunch, rice, dal, chapati, sabji. One sabji usually would be enough, like that. Rice, dal, chapati, sabji. And people want more, you eat more rice and more chapati. This is how devotees should eat. And you should eat a good lunch. And then Prabhupada taught we wouldn't eat grains after 4 in the afternoon. In the evening, only 1 cup of hot milk. 1 small cup of hot milk. That would be the evening. We wouldn't take a meal in the evening. And that's good for health. If you don't eat at night, it's much easier to wake up earlier in the morning and to chant Hare Krishna in the morning. So we try to practice these kind of things. Lord Chaitanya was very strict about avoiding palatable dishes. You can read in the Chaitanya Charitamrita how sometimes the devotees would invite Lord Chaitanya and there would be so many wonderful dishes. Lord Chaitanya would say, just give me some sak. I just want some sak, some spinach and some rice. They said, that's enough. He said, I'm a sannyasi. He said, I don't want to eat opulently. So we offer palatable dishes, and Prabhupada said, if we offer the palatable dishes to the deity just for eating them ourselves, then that's satisfying the demands of the tongue. It's not good. And he said, if we accept the invitation of a rich man with the idea of getting palatable food, then we're also satisfying the demands of the tongue. And then Prabhupada quotes the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He said, that person who runs here and there, seeking to gratify his palate, and who is always attached to the desires of his stomach and genitals, is unable to attain Krishna. That's Prabhupada warning that if we're just thinking only about our tongue and our stomach, then we will never get Krishna. So they have to be controlled. And then Prabhupada quotes more, Lord Chaitanya, he's giving instructions. This was, again, from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Chaitanya gave these instructions to Raghunath Das. Raghunath Das, well, of course, he was very renounced. But he told Raghunath, he said, do not dress luxuriously and do not eat delicious foodstuffs. And then Prabhupada goes on to talk about how people who eat too much, they get sick, the diseases of the stomach. Yeah, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, you eat too much or eat too little. You cannot be a yogi. Now, if you eat too much, generally what happens? You often get diabetes. Prabhupada said, diabetes is a rich man's disease. You eat too much. You didn't get any exercise and you fill the belly with so much food, then easily you get diabetes and you have to inject yourself with insulin and different things. So it's a big trouble. And if you don't eat enough, that's also not good. Then you can get tuberculosis, TB. It's a serious disease. It's a killer disease. So we have to know, we have to get the right balance. Eat. Don't eat too much, don't eat too little. And eat in regulation. And better is to eat, the Ayurveda says the sun rises, the power of digestion increases. And as the sun starts to set, then the power of digestion reduces. So that's why we don't like to eat in the night. It's not good. We had one Chinese doctor come to treat Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, and the Chinese doctor said, I can cure any disease if you won't eat after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So if we eat too much, then it creates inconvenience. So if we observe fasting days, that's good. Ekadasi, Janmastami, then we can control the demands of the belly. So very good for us, right? Madhavatiti Bhakti Janani. Madhavatiti Bhakti Janani. Madhavatiti means holy days like Ekadasi and Janmastami. They become the mother of devotion for those devotees who take shelter of them. So in this way he talks about controlling the tongue, and then he talks about the urge of the genitals, again, legal and illicit. When a man is properly mature, then he can marry, and he can use his genitals to beget nice children. That is legal and religious. Somebody just asked me today, if a person doesn't have sex, is he living in the material? Can he live in? Is he living in the spiritual world? Not necessarily, of course, but sex can be also spiritual. We use it for the service of Krishna, and Krishna says, "I am that act which is not against religious principles." So a devotee avoids illicit sex. And Prabhupada said these instructions apply not only to householders, but also to those who are in the renounced order of life. And then Prabhupada quotes Jagadananda Pandit, "My dear brothers, you are in the renounced order of life and should not listen to talk about ordinary worldly things, nor should you talk about worldly things when you meet with others." Again, this is instructions Lord Chaitanya gave to Raghunath Das. Raghunath Das had asked Lord Chaitanya for some instructions, so Lord Chaitanya told him like that. And they said, "Do not think of women even in dreams. You have accepted the renounced order of life with a vow that forbids you to associate with women. If you wish to associate with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you must always remember the incident of Chota Haridas and how he was rejected by the Lord. Do not eat luxurious dishes or dress in fine garments. Always remain humble and serve their lordship, Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, in your heart of hearts." So the conclusion is that one who can control these six items, speech, mind, anger, tongue, belly, and genitals, then he is called a Swami or Goswami. So generally we think Swami or Goswami, this is for people in the renounced order of life. Prabhupada said, being a Swami or Goswami does not mean that he is the master of his family. He must be the master of his senses. Unless he is the master of his senses, he should not be called Goswami. He should be called Godas, servant of the senses. So we don't want to be Godas. We want to follow the example of the Goswamis and engage in the service of the Lord. And then Prabhupada then quotes Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, he was asked by his father what he had learned from his teachers. Or no, he was asked, his father asked him, where did you get your Krishna consciousness from? And Prahlad Maharaj said, Materna Krishna Paratasvatova Vibho Vipadeta Greha Vratanam. He told his father that because you're Adanta Go, because you're the servant of your senses, you cannot control your senses. So he said, you will never get Krishna consciousness. He said, you you're going to just remain chewing the chewed. You have no hope to get Krishna consciousness. You won't get it by your own endeavor, and you won't get it by instructions from others, or even by both. Because you're determined, you've made the vow to remain in family life and enjoy your senses, right? Griha vratanam. So you're not going to get Krishna consciousness. Prahlad told his father, you don't have to worry. There's no way you'll become Krishna conscious. Your senses are uncontrolled, and they're going to drag you into the darkest region of ignorance. And you engage chewing the chewed, right? So this way Prahlad Maharaj describes such. All right, so we have some exercises. I want to change the screen here. Just a minute. I'm going to change the screen. There's another. Are you able to see the slide?
Yes, Maharaj.
Maharaj.
Okay, wait, first, here's a quote here from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The devotees are intent on yukta vairagya, and thus they remain aloof from dry renunciation. Therefore, the regulation to abandon all contact with the sense objects does not pertain to them. It's an important point to understand, because the mystic yogis, other Mayavadis and so on, Buddhists and so on, their program is to avoid the senses. It's all sense gratification, and try, don't taste anything, don't see anything, don't hear anything. But that's not our program. Our program is yukta vairagya, which is to utilize everything in Krishna's service. See the form of Krishna, and hear about Krishna, and chant about Krishna. So here's a question for you. See if you can, let's see what kind of response you have to this. You're at a public function, and you've been told that cheese is vegetarian. However, after the meal, you find out the cheese actually contained animal rennet. How do you react? What's your attitude? What do you do? Anyone like to respond to this? What will you do? Just laugh about it. Maybe, huh? Yes, Maraji?
Maharaj, I will feel bad. I will regret, like, why did I eat it? I shouldn't have eaten.
You shouldn't have eaten it?
Yeah, I'll feel bad. I'll regret eating it.
You'll feel bad?
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Motivate organization was told me that it is the vegetarian cheese. To correct it for the others, to not to get a treatment like this?
I didn't get the first part. What were you saying?
I will notify the organizer who was told that the cheese is a vegetarian.
Oh, find the
So that
organizer
yeah.
and blast him, huh?
No. I'll tell him to rectify that. It's a vegetarian cheese to be corrected as, non-vegetarian cheese.
Oh, tell him that the cheese is non-vegetarian. Well, the organizer.
Maharaj, can I say?
Yeah?
I feel guilt, and from next time I have to be more aware. I have should not eat again.
Huh?
Next time, vow not to eat at all.
Yeah, next time, be more careful, right? Next time you don't take cheese. Or you don't eat out. You see, this is a problem, what happens when you go eating out. That we don't know, some people are not so careful about these things.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, if I may say.
Yes?
Firstly, I would avoid eating outside, just like you mentioned from the teachings of Srila Prabhupada and Krishna consciousness. However, if due to some, obligations I have to eat, then of course I eat this cheese mistakenly because I was told it's a vegetarian dish. So I would firstly ask for forgiveness from Guru Maharaj and of course Krishna. And secondly, I would pass on this message to other devotees who haven't eaten at this point in time, just to be careful and don't make the same mistake like I did. And I'll move on from there. Hare Krishna. I would be angry, but I have to control.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Okay, yeah. You'd be angry, but you control your anger and pass on the word to others. Be careful that they told us it was vegetarian, but actually it had rennet.
Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes.
Maharaj, I just wanted to ask, like generally all the cheese have the cheese are the byproducts of the animal milk. Either it can be cow milk, goat milk, or any other animal. Generally in the industry, how they process. So this rennet is also like kind of enzyme they use in the cheese to coagulate the milk or to process the milk for the cheese. So does it become like we cannot have it in the Krishna consciousness, or it is a totally separate?
What's he saying? Did you get that?
Can you say loudly, Prabhu? Hare Krishna. Sorry, Maharaj couldn't hear. Can you say loudly, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu, yes. Basically, I wanted to say that cheese are generally the byproducts of all the animal milks. Like sometimes they are being processed by cow's milk, sometimes with the cow's milk.
Somebody has to mute, please. Hare Krishna. There are many mics open, please. Hare Krishna. Yeah, Prabhu, can you please repeat, please?
Yes. The cheese is the byproduct of animal's milk. So mostly either from the cow milk or goat milk or any other animal used for the processing of cheese. So the rennet is always used in the all kind of cheese processing to coagulate the milk or for the processing. So does it make we should be careful in the type of animal milk used in the processing of cheese, or what it should be? Means I am unable to get. Please.
What he's saying, Maharaj, that normally all kind of cheese will have rennet. So what?
No, that's not true. Paneer, for example, when you make paneer from milk, you don't put any rennet there. We just simply put some lemon in the milk and curdle the milk, and you can take the paneer out. There's no rennet there. But what happens, you buy these processed, these kind of processed cheeses, they put rennet in it.
Yeah.
You buy stuff manufactured, But generally, what devotees have, we will use the paneer. You get the paneer can be used. But again, you want to get milk from cows which are properly cared for. You shouldn't just take milk from any kind of cows which are going to be slaughtered the next day when they don't have any more milk. We try to encourage the protection and care of the cows. But the rennet, that's something which the manufacturers do, which they put in when they're processing cheese. It's not something which, ordinary people will use.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the clarification. So basically, rennet is a kind of, we can say like part of the animal's body, which they put as an enzyme inside the cheese for the processing.
Well, I understood it to be something taken from the hoofs of the animal.
Okay. All
right. But when it's coming from the animal, is certainly something we want to avoid. And when you purchase things, then generally you can look on the packet and you can see what are the ingredients.
Yes, Maharaj.
I was coming on the flight the other day when I came here into Dubai, and they were giving out packets of crisps, which were cheese and onion flavored. So I don't know about the cheese, but the onions. So you have to be very careful about what kind of things people when you're taking these kind of things. Programs, outside programs, very risky. Devotees generally, we're careful ourselves what we purchase and what we eat. But if you start going out and going to functions, then you risk like that. It's a risk you take. So better to somehow avoid eating at these public functions. Okay, I have some other questions.
Maharaj,
yes?
Just to add, if you go into the supermarket, basically everything has egg. So you also need to check very good on cookies and cakes and everything that there's always eggs included in almost everything. It's not normal. So I totally agree that you should be very careful and eat only from home.
Yes. Good. Yeah. Yeah. Many things, certainly. Eggs. You go to any cake shop or bakery, of course, good, they'll have eggs in. Yeah. Bread also, you purchase bread, will have eggs in it. All right, so here's another series of questions. We'll take them one at a time. First of all, when is it all right to eat in the homes of life members who invite us?
Life members, Maharaj, is it like our relatives or family or?
Well, life members, that means that, they've paid some money, they've given some money as a donation to the society to become a life member, not necessarily relatives or anything.
Okay.
Yeah, we have many life members in our ISKCON society. So, when is all right to eat in their homes? If they invite us, come to my home, and
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. So I would probably do a pre-check if they are into Krishna consciousness and they are practicing the same rituals as we do. And if they are, then I wouldn't mind taking prasadam at their home.
Okay. Yeah, how are you going to do the check?
By directly questioning them. Inquiring them. That's the only alternative I have. And I would be very transparent in explaining them that this is a ritual we are following, and there are certain exceptions that we don't take in our food as an offering to Krishna. So we only take prasadam. So I'm sure that the life member would respect my feeling as well. And if he is into Krishna consciousness, then of course we both can have prasadam together at his house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are past times when Prabhupada was with the devotees, were in someone's house, it's a big member or something, And they all sat down to the meal. And the devotee turned to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, there's onions in the sabji. And Prabhupada said, there's no onions in the sabji. And the devotee said, no, Prabhupada, there's onions in the sabji. And Prabhupada just said, there's no onions in the sabji. And so Prabhupada was telling the devotees, go ahead, eat it. But Prabhupada himself didn't eat it. So, sometimes Prabhupada, in order for the sake of, a very big member, he may tell the devotees, it's okay, just take what they're giving, but not a habit. Prabhupada certainly didn't like devotees eating in life members' homes. But sometimes they invite us. And so sometimes we may arrange a program and you have a preaching program and they can invite guests and so on, like that. So for the sake of preaching. But, we don't like very much to just go to people's homes just to eat. If the people are actually devotees, if they're really devotees, then it's all right. But if they're just life members, life members are usually, not so many of them are devotees, a few are devotees, but if they're just life members and they're not really devotees, they're not coming to the temple much, and you don't know how strict they are in their homes, and they may have a deity there, but you don't know what they do. Do they make offerings or what? And so you have to be very cautious about life members' homes and what you take there.
But Maharaj, can we take the fruits and milk from their house?
Yes, Srila Prabhupada said you can take uncut fruit. That's one thing you can do. People who you're not very sure about them, you just take uncut fruit. You don't want to have fruit cut because if they use knives which are used to cut other things, it's not good. So uncut fruit, that's generally what we would request. Please just arrange some uncut fruit. All right, number 2, how important is it not to eat food cooked by karmis? Karmi means somebody who's not a devotee. Yes?
Very important, Maharaj, so that we won't get
equally important not to eat.
Yes, can you tell me what happens if you eat food cooked by karmis?
If they are not devotees, they may even use onion, garlic. So better to avoid eating cooked by karmis.
Well, they're not devotees, they're karmis. I said they're not devotees.
Yeah, that's right. To avoid eating while cooked by karmis.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, that is Pranam, if I may.
They're not karmis, they
basically,
don't
karmis
offer Krishna. It is not a prasadam.
It's not prasadam. Can we offer it ourselves? We can say, well, I'll offer it,
While they are not devotees, maybe they will not follow the proper procedure to cook as a prasadam.
Yes.
So,
well, we don't know with what fillings they have cooked the prasadam.
Yes.
Of course, it's not offered to Krishna. It's what we are assuming. And if it's not offered to Krishna, then we would have different fillings while cooking prasadam. So we are not sure in terms of their respective thoughts while cooking the food. So we would preferably avoid it. The food cooked by karmis.
Okay. Yeah, certainly you eat food cooked by karmis, then you're going to get their karma. Right? If you eat food cooked by karmis, you're going to get their karma. And certainly it will make, Lord Chaitanya said, it makes remembrance of Krishna very difficult. If you take food cooked by non-devotee, then the remembrance of Krishna will be hampered. It will make it difficult for us to remember Krishna. So the cook and the pujari, they're both very important in the temple. They have to be very strict and devotees. The people cooking and the people worshipping the deity and offering the deity, they have a very important role. And the purity of the food is determined by them. And the food is very important for all the devotees. The devotees eat prasadam. And we want to eat prasadam which is pure. So it's important. We should be very careful. Okay? Number 3, can we eat food cooked by machines? What kind of food is cooked by machines?
Packet foods mostly.
Like pasta.
Maharaj, it's like air fried, like where you want to have zero oil and you prefer using air fryers
Okay.
or oven for like instead of boiling or frying, you prefer baked stuff.
Bakery products, bread, cakes.
But here it is another important, I think, as Prabhupada mentioned earlier, that cooked more than 3-4 hours should not be eaten.
No, it should
So
not
when
be offered to the Lord. It should be offered
I think
within 3 hours.
Well, you can have food like chapatis, you have chapati machine cooking.
Okay.
It can be quite fresh.
The machines cannot think of Krishna while they are processing the food, right?
Well, I don't know. It depends who's feeding the machines, right? Who's putting all the ingredients into the machine.
Yeah.
What about rice cookers? We use rice cookers everywhere. Rice cooker, you put the rice into the cooker and you just switch on the rice cooker. Is that considered also a machine?
If devotee cooked by the machine, then
I think rice cooker or pressure
Hare
cooker
Krishna.
maybe it falls under the same category.
I don't know.
I think.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. So I feel like, as long as like, those basic fundamental principles of prasadams are like prasadam preparation are held, I think it's okay to eat the food prepared by the machine. Like, of course, we use the, like, when we are making a big the preparation, we use the chapati maker. So it is a machine. So when it is controlled, when it is used in the, like, with the principles of prasad making, I think it is good to eat. But if it is not, then of course, like we can, like, when the ingredients are pure and, like, they are offered to Krishna, of course, and it should be controlled, like, it should be cleaned and dedicated to Krishna service only.
Okay. Yeah, it should be clean, yeah. Should be hygienic. Yes.
Machine food cooked at home should be taken as a prasadam because we prepare with that consciousness. And if it is machine cooked from outside, should not be considered and taken as a prasadam as per me.
Okay. Yeah, it's cooked outside, yeah. Yeah, something, if it's, you buy something packed on something, not very good. You buy, you get things like bars of chocolate and so on. Okay, finally, should we eat the meals provided on airplanes?
I think
No,
again,
Maharaj.
same.
No, Maharaj.
Actually, no, Maharaj. Yeah.
Yeah, that's important. Prabhupada has written about that in his purport, that we should not eat meals in the airplane. Prabhupada would bring his own prasadam into the airplanes. Prabhupada always carried his tiffin He always had his tiffin, and he would sit down, and in the airplane he would take his lunch or take his meal there in the airplane. He always prepared himself like that. There was never any consideration of accepting any of the food in the airplane. Certainly not for devotees to eat. All right?
Maharaj, our knowledge
Yeah.
also, Maharaj.
Uh-huh.
For our knowledge, like when Srila Prabhupada went to America by Jaladud, I think it took 1 month. That time also he cooked himself?
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, he cooked himself, and he even distributed, on Janmashtami, he cooked prasadam and he distributed some prasadam to everybody on the ship.
Okay, okay, okay. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Prabhupada was usually cooking for himself all the time, and he first went to New York. When he got there in Butler, when he went to the Agarwals, he stayed with the Agarwals at Butler, Pennsylvania. He cooked for them. He showed them how to cook. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Just to review what we've been covering in these last two classes. We covered the preface as well. First of all, we had the overview of the Upadeshamrita, right? The main points, what's been mentioned. Like the first verse here tonight is about the urges, 6 urges. And then the purpose of the Upadeshamrita. You remember the purpose? Anybody remember what was the purpose of Upadeshamrita?
To become the Rupangas, Maharaj.
Yeah, to become pure Vaishnavas, right? To become Goswamis. Right? And then personal application. The study of Upadeshamrita can improve our attitude in Krishna consciousness. Our attitude. We want to have the proper attitude. It should be in line, service to Guru and Krishna, without our own material desires. Right? And then the appropriate means of controlling the six urges with reference to text 1 of Upadeshamrita. Right? How are we going to control the urge to speak? Someone can tell me, how will we control the urge to speak?
We'll engage our tongue, Maharaj, in Krishna's glories and devotees'
Yes,
sevas.
chanting the holy name and talking about Krishna. And how to control the mind's demands.
We can remember Krishna's pastime, Lord Krishna's pastime.
Yeah, we have to bring the mind to Krishna, right? We have to bring the mind to take shelter of Lord Krishna. And what about the reactions of anger?
By doing the services for the Lord.
When are we allowed to become angry?
Only when we are in a control of anger.
Yeah, but Prabhupada also gave example in some situations we could use anger.
Yeah, like Hanuman, example of Hanuman. Sure.
Yeah, someone attacks a devotee, or when somebody is critical of Lord Krishna or blasphemes our acharyas like that, then we can get angry with them. And if somebody's offensive, nasty, criticizing devotees or even attacking them, then we can get angry with them. So in that kind of situation, then the anger can be used. And then the tongue, the belly, and the genitals, right? The tongue has to be controlled. How to control the tongue?
Hare
Taking
Krishna.
Eat Krishna
by
Prasad.
eating Krishna
eating
Prasad.
only
Sharira
Krishna
Vidya
Prasadam.
Jal, Jodindriya Tahe Kaal.
taking
Jive Jalvat.
taking prasadam, regulated times and regulated quantities, not overeating, and not just eating things which we're attached to, which we like, and be very careful about eating opulent dishes, too many sweets, not good. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada mentions about should not take too much coffee or kheer or shrikand, these kind of things, very rich dairy products. We should be careful about eating too much of these kind of things. We should eat basic, naturally, basic diet, not opulent, not a lot of ghee and a lot of sugar, a lot of rich food is not good. That's not controlling the tongue. And the belly, don't put too much weight in the belly, especially in the night. And then the genital, use the genital to get Krishna conscious children. Get married and have a nice wife and produce Krishna conscious children. So previously we spoke about the importance of Rupa Goswami. Many people may be devotees of Lord Krishna, but not everyone is a devotee of Lord Chaitanya. And then of those who follow Lord Chaitanya, not everyone follows Rupa Goswami. And so Rupa Goswami is very important to us, that he is, we said Rupa Manjari, and he was empowered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to write about the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And he gave us this Upadeshamrita, it's the essence of Lord Chaitanya's teaching. And then we explained how the Krishna consciousness movement is conducted under Srila Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami was a direct disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and so he has given us this book Upadeshamrita, is telling us the instructions of Lord Chaitanya, the essence of Lord Chaitanya's instructions. He also gave us the nectar of devotion, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So two very important books. Prabhupada said Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is the handbook for devotees. So Rupa Goswami, he wrote these books and he's guiding us, teaching us. Here's a concluding quote from Prabhupada. In all spiritual affairs, one's first duty is to control his mind and his senses. Unless one controls his mind and senses, one cannot make any advancement in spiritual life. Everyone in this material life is engrossed in the modes of passion and ignorance. One must promote himself to the platform of goodness, sattva gun, by following the instructions of Rupa Goswami, and then everything concerning how to make future progress will be revealed. From the preface. Okay? And you can see that's Rupa Goswami's Samadhi. That's how it used to be. Of course, now it's all changed, it's all enclosed. They built a building over the Samadhi. But that's how it used to, this is how it used to look when we first went to Vrindavan. And Prabhupada was seeing the Samadhi from his own room, and he was meditating and praying to Rupa Goswami to guide him and to empower him to distribute Krishna consciousness to the world. Okay. So any questions? Anyone?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, my question is like you said, we should be controlling our tongue. We should not cook like very rich food, not too many varieties. But like when it comes to serve someone, like if we get a chance to serve any Vaishnav, any senior devotee, then should we really like follow these things, or should we try our best to serve to our best capacity?
Well, I'm talking about your own situation, in your own home, and when you're cooking for your family every day, you don't want to be cooking every day a lot of rich foodstuffs every day. Now, some special guest may come to your home. You may like to cook for him specially. He may take it, he may not. But you may like to prepare them for him, just to see. But it's not required. He may prefer it simply. Sannyasis, older people, Prabhupada used to say, young man cannot eat too much, old man cannot eat too little. Right? We can't eat too little. The less we eat, the better. That's...
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Namrat Pranam. I have a question.
Yes.
As you said that when we eat outside by the karmis or by, not cooked in the consciousness, we should avoid that. But the the life that we are living, 80% of the time we do not cook. We have help who's cooking for us. We do offer at home, but in that case, what should be done? And when we go outside, even for the katha or for the classes, we eat a huge spread. So we should avoid having prasadam. Is it okay to just have a little bit and walk out? Is it not aprad to leave prasadam?
Well, if it's prasadam, somebody's prepared prasadam, you should know how much you want to eat. If you want to eat more, but you don't leave prasadam on your plate. That's not good. And if some more is on the plate, you can always pack it, take it with you. Put it in a bag and take it home with you. You can eat it later.
No, that's not the point, Maharaj. Generally when we go for the classes, there are a lot of food items. And I've recently started feeling that, eating all of that, we're basically indulging. So can we just do that? We just have a little bit of prasadam from the whole and just walk out and not stay there, because when we stay there, we do get tempted. And is that okay?
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
We eat to suit ourselves. When you dress, you have to dress to suit others. You're going to office or you're going for a function, you will dress to suit others. But when it comes to eating, it's a personal affair. We eat to suit our own needs, what we need, how much we need, or what is suitable for our own self. You don't eat to please others. You eat for your own sake.
And second part of my question is 80% of the times we do not cook ourselves. We have helps cooking for us, and that's offered. So what?
So you should have a help who's a devotee. Somebody's cooking for you, you want to be sure about their habits. You don't want to just have anyone cooking for you. you do want to be cautious about who's cooking for you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Okay. Yeah, any other questions there? Okay, if there are no more questions, then we'll finish here tonight. So thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Jai.
Hare
Srila
Krishna.
Prabhupada ki
Hare
jai.
Krishna.
Thank you very
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Maharaj, thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna. Danut Pranam Maharaj.
Hare Krishna
Loved
Maharaj.
listening to you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Dandavat Pranam Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Dandavat.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. Would you please share the previous class, the recording of the previous class? Is it possible?
Prabhu, we can hear you actually. Jai Prabhu.
Can you hear me, Suresh Prabhu now? Can you hear me?
Yeah. It's okay now, Prabhu.
Okay. Yeah, Yuvati Sachi Mataji, yes, we will share the recordings. Did you miss the last class?
Yes, the last class.
Okay, so we will share it. Yeah. Okay.
Class was on Monday class. Yeah.
Yes, I will share it. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, devotees. Again, we will meet
Thank you
on
very
Friday.
much.
Yeah, Friday class will be taken by Shivalabha Prabhu. So again, next Monday we will have Maharaj with us. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Jai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Hari
Thank you,
Bol.
brother.